Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
All right, let's do this. Welcome to The Lock Shop, everybody. Great to have you with us. Huss, JBM, and Patty, the three-man weave today, coming out of a massive sports weekend. Shout out to our guy, Dusty, who, listen, he's still down bad, but man, did he come through. He's had multiple Jordan flu games, if you will, so far this year, because I'll just send this out to people, especially if you haven't really gotten into the Canadian Football League and you want to check it out a little bit more before the Grey Cup. If you go to my Twitter feed, I saw this last night and I retweeted it. The CFL did an unbelievable sort of cinematic summary of the game. It's about a 6.5 minute clip, and it goes through all the big plays. It's shot brilliantly. Dusty's commentary on all the big plays is in there, and it really gives you an idea of just how incredible it was at Princess Auto Stadium here in the Peg on the weekend. That was, I mean, listen, we've had some incredible nights and a ton of sellouts in that stadium since it opened. That was the pinnacle. One game against your biggest rival to go to the Grey Cup. And unlike the last time the Bombers played the Riders in the West Final, it wasn't minus 20. It was absolutely glorious outside. The energy at that first game was great, but I mean, people were moving around and dancing just because, I mean, it was a survival mode. This was different. This was a team. This is a great 33,000 fans completely behind their team. The team stepping up and doing it, and just an absolutely magical night. But special shout out to Dusty. Hopefully, we might get a chance to have him on with us in Vancouver coming up later on this week, depending on how he does in his recovery. Anyways, yes, a great weekend here in Winnipeg. The Grey Cup is set. Bombers Argos. We will be doing the Lock Shop from Vancouver on Tuesday and Wednesday. And Matty Awana kindly is going to be jumping in for me on Wednesday's show, which I guess would be tomorrow, because we got to move up Winnipeg Sports Talk and then get on a plane to get out to Vancouver. So anyways, busy week for CFL fans. And man, we got a lot to get to coming out of the weekend in the NFL. But Patty, I was saying when I came on before, I mean, I sometimes just look up and go, like, just don't wake me up. The Bombers getting to the Grey Cup was phenomenal. The gust of wind, as Mark mentioned in the chat, is part of the legend. But the Jets, the Jets cannot lose. That Saturday was one of the great sport days in the history of the city of Winnipeg, with the Jets beating Dallas to go 14-1, and then heading straight down for the Bombers to win the West Final. And then there's the Chiefs. Then there's the Chiefs, who special teams, special players, special plays. You know how that is. I don't even know what to say, but I'm really enjoying this string of good luck. How are you fellas doing coming out of that long weekend?
Well, not flying as high as you are, to say the least. The Leafs, I think it was Jake the last time all three of us were on. Our guy, the Shane Train, said the Leafs had to go 3-0 this week. They go 3-0. My Buffalo Bills pick up a victory against the Colts in a crazy, wild, wacky, and sometimes ugly football game. Jake's Patriots, although he does not want them to win, pick up a win, and Drake May looks like he has potential to be the quarterback of the future. But you talk about all those positive vibes, and it just doesn't match to what you're doing right now. I don't know if it's a horseshoe up your hoop or if you sold your soul, but things right now in the Huss camp could not be going better. And I'm okay with it. I'm fine with it. I'm happy for you. But I think this weekend it all comes to an end for me, feeling happy for you guys because, yeah, sure, I like to cheer for the Argos. I'm not the biggest Argos fan, to be quite honest, but of course they are in Toronto. But the real big game between you and I come this Sunday with the Bills taking on the Chiefs. And anytime those teams meet, it's great. I'm pissed off at the bookmakers, though, for making the Chiefs underdogs. I was hoping it was going to be Chiefs as the favorites because we all know what happens when Patrick Mahomes is an underdog. Bad things happen on the other side.
Jake, what's going on?
Not much, Us. I was just imagining you know the LeBron picture when he's standing in his pool and he's like, I can't believe this is my life. I'm so
Can't believe this is my life. Hey,
that's you, Huss. Like,
I've been close to dropping that a few times, actually.
I think we need a Huss, like, whatever it is, like, on his balcony, like, can't believe this is my life. Chiefs fan, Bombers, like, Jets. It's going, everything's up Huss right now. If you got the stock early in the season, you're having a great year. Yeah, no, it's been a good little run, like Pat said, for the Leafs here. The Leafs are like an easy watch, believe it or not. They've never been an easy watch, over the last decade. All of a sudden, like, they play sound defensive hockey. They score on the power play all of a sudden. We talked about the power play a week ago, Us. They're unbelievable now. They get on the power play, and it's just like, guess what? They're scoring. Like, it's a simple game. The structure that Berube has them set up in it is real nice. And then, the Pats pick up a win. I mean, the Bears, like, that's a team. Maybe, I don't know if that's where we want to start because it's not necessarily the story of the weekend, but my goodness, like, what is going on in Chicago?
Hey, you know what? We will start there. I'll just shout out the Oilers. I mean, obviously, we've got a lot of Edmonton fans watching. Nice win in their last game out, crushing Vancouver 7-3. The crazy game. We were sitting there at the bar after the mayhem of Saturday night and had the late game on, and it was 3-2, and then everyone's talking and whatever, high-fiving each other and doing what you do after two massive wins like that. And we look over 5 minutes later, and it was 7-2. So they got their mojo back a little bit. Oilers are at home against the Islanders tonight as -227 favorites, and we are going to have to get to the hockey slate before we're done because we got the Battle of Ontario with the Sens playing the Leafs and the best goalie matchup you'll see here in the NHL all season long. MSG tonight, Hellebuck on an all-time heater, head-to-head with Shesterkin. And that one's actually kicking things off 6:07 p.m. our time. So we will get to all of the hockey. But yeah, Jake, let me ask you this. Are the Patriots making progress? Are they getting better? They play a really good game? Or are the Chicago Bears just reverting to an even worse version of themselves from last season?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to believe it's, a little bit of both, right? Like, I want to believe the Patriots are progressing here. Drake May, I think, has looked pretty solid overall. I was hesitant to take – I didn't end up taking them on the weekend, but I really wish I did. They were 6-point underdogs, Huss, to a Chicago Bears team that has, really struggled, I feel like, since their trip out to London. So, it's a rough go-around right now. Like, it feels like they're working backwards and they're regressing. And the one thing the Chicago Bears refuse to do is fire a head coach. Today, they relieved the Waldron, or today or yesterday, they relieved the OC of his duties. Well, what does that matter? Like, Matt Eberflus is not the guy, and Chicago fans know it. I mean, if you're a Barstool fan, you listen to Part of My Take. Like, Big Cat is right back down into sadness. Like, Chicago is an absolute mess. This was the whole thing when Caleb Williams was coming in. He set up in the best position a number one overall pick could be set up as. And early in the season, it was looking okay there. They were a few games above 500. Well, now it's getting really, really ugly. And, like, listen, the Patriots might be progressing. They're still not a good football team. Like, if you're a team that's supposed to be, set up really well, you're probably going to score more than 3 points on offense. And the Bears are just it's tough to see right now in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of with you. I kind of thought that, the last offseason was the time to make a move, but they played a little better in those last few games of the year. He got the other year, and now they're in reverse right now, and it is a disaster. And my God, I mean, Caleb Williams got sacked, I think, 9 times. By the end, his linemen weren't even picking him up. Like, the Patriots guys out of giving him the pat on the head and everything like that. It was, I mean, listen, it's a sad situation right now. And they're in, like, they've got the 4 wins. we've been pointing this out ever since they were 4-2. Every one of those teams had one win when they beat them. And now they're going to get into the divisional play. They got to figure something out so that they don't really irreparably harm Caleb Williams moving forward, because the guy has incredible talent, but he's got no time. And if you looked in, their receivers get absolutely zero separation. And he's been put in an absolutely brutal spot. Patty, what about your Bills? A nice, tidy, easy cover against the Colts. And now they get ready for the ultimate test coming up next Sunday, the undefeated Chiefs. How's the Mafia feeling right now coming out of the weekend?
Feeling pretty good. I think a lot of folks outside of Bills Mafia, maybe even inside Bills Mafia, you would never guess that this team is 8-2. This is the first time the team's 8-2 since '93. It is a very, very quiet 8-2. There have been some really good regular season Buffalo Bills teams over the past couple of years. The fact that they really haven't had any of those letdown spots. The two big challenges, though, they have fallen short. They lose back-to-back weeks in primetime to the Ravens, really get all ran over, and then a sloppy first half ends up costing them to lose to the Texans by 3 points. And that's kind of it. That since then they've taken care of business. They have been just playing. They don't play down to their level. They take care of business. And this spot here against the Colts, again, didn't love their game. They still win by 10. They still put up 30 points. You get 4 turnovers, I should say, 3 interceptions and a fumble recovery from your defense. The run game is certainly a concern for this defense, but no one's calling this team a Super Bowl juggernaut. I think people are putting them there for a contender. But for an 8-2 team and a team that really hasn't been here in a long time, they're not quite getting I don't want to say the credit they deserve, because, again, the two challenges that they have had this year, they've fallen short. Every other team that they have beaten is below 500. I think some level expectations for this group is something that this group has needed in the past, because A, it's either been the media saying this team's a wagon, Josh Allen's unbelievable, or B, they're overrated, they stink, no one, Josh Allen's no good. There isn't in between. And that's where it is right now. And the big test is against the Chiefs. And regardless what happens here, Huss, I'm not just saying this, regardless what happens here with the Chiefs, if they win, if they lose, I'm still going to take this with a level-headed approach, because I still believe that this Buffalo Bills team has to prove that they can get over the hump with the Chiefs in the playoffs. We've seen them beat the Chiefs in the regular season. We've seen them go into Arrowhead. We've seen them win at home. We've seen them take care of business in the regular season. The issue is during the year. But you look at this Bills roster right now, they had no Amari Cooper. They had no Keon Coleman, and they still were able to put up 30 points. I think the Bills are in a pretty good spot going in against a team, against the Chiefs. I will tell you, if the Broncos end up pulling off that upset, I would be absolutely terrified of the Chiefs coming off getting beaten by them.
One thing I got to say about this game, and you mentioned that they're a very quiet 8-2 on the year. I mean, they got murdered by Baltimore earlier this year, and I think everyone sort of thought, okay, well, they're in this second tier of AFC teams. Well, guess what? Baltimore's lost to the Raiders and the Browns and the Chiefs. So they've got 3 losses right now. If, and I don't want to telegraph this, but if the Bills are able to win that game on Sunday, all of a sudden they're 1 game behind Kansas City. And if they could make up another game in the final 6-7 games of the regular season, they have the head-to-head tiebreaker based on head-to-head and would actually get the 1 seed. And listen, the 1 seed in the AFC, to me, is so important this year because, I mean, I really do believe that there's 3 premier teams, Kansas City, Baltimore, and Buffalo. And to not have to play, I mean, we know how much just the rest, not playing a playoff game can help a team. But even more so, assuming those other 2 teams win in the next round, to have the other 2 teams beat the hell out of each other in the divisional round before going to you in the AFC Championship game. is everything right now. So, I mean, it is absolute. Like if the Chiefs win this game and go to 10-0 and the other two teams have 3 losses and the Chiefs have beaten both of them, book the AFC Championship game for Arrowhead. Yeah. Otherwise, though, this I mean, it's a big game. Let me ask you this, guys, though. Jake, I'll start with you. I mean, what was your reaction when you saw the final play of the Chiefs-Denver game and Leo Chanel coming up big to block that kick up 2 points, facing their first loss of the season?
Well, Pat knows it. I texted our group chat with me, Pat and Shaner, and I was like, oh, my God, the Chiefs are about to lose this football game. Like the Broncos had no problem driving it down their throats in the end of the game there, and they're set up in a pretty good spot for a game-winning field goal. And I'm like, this is unbelievable. And I had the Chiefs in a money line parlay, so I had an eye on it. I was really like wondering what was going to happen. And Shane just texted. I'm telling you, there was probably 20 seconds left, and he goes, "Long game." And I was like, what does that mean? He's like, and then sure enough. It was just like, OMG, oh my God. Like, and sure enough, they blocked the kick and Shane's like, yeah, like I've seen it before, buddy. Like it shouldn't surprise you. Like, this is what the Chiefs do. I don't know what kind of voodoo stuff they got going on in Kansas City, but they're finding ways to win football games when, you could argue not necessarily deserving these games, but all that matters, Huss, is another W in the column. Like, that's all that matters at the end of the day. They don't care about covering big numbers. They don't care about how pretty the game was. You win the football game, you're on to next week.
Yeah.
My reaction, Huss, was from Breaking Bad. He can't keep getting away with this. They can't keep getting away with this. They just find ways to win. And I can't remember which beat reporter or radio personality it was from Buffalo that tweeted it out. Basically was saying, like, it doesn't matter what you think of this version of the Kansas City Chiefs, whether they're overrated, they're just finding ways to win, whatever it is. If you give them just any chance to win the game with under 2 minutes left, you have lost the game. Like, that is just what this team is doing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what their offense does throughout the first 3 quarters of the game. Like, if they are within striking distance, they are going to win the game. They're going to win, whether it's a last-minute drive by Mahomes. Their defense, they just have it going on right now. And yes, water probably will find its level. There is going to be a time where a call doesn't go their way or the bounce doesn't go their way. Let's not forget, last year, the Chiefs almost beat the Bills in that crazy game if it was not for that bonehead. I won't even bring up his name, Huss. I think you've probably already erased him from memory. If his toe is onside, we see the coolest play of all time, and the Buffalo Bills once again lose in heartbreaking fashion. So yes, the Chiefs 9 times out of 10 get those bounces, get those calls, and maybe this is me building a case for some good karma coming up here, but that's just what good teams do. They find ways to win, and it's crazy. It doesn't make sense. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how they keep doing it, but they just keep doing it. Jake, as a Patriots fan, the Patriots had crazy shit like that happen all the time.
Against the Chiefs.
Exactly. Like this.
I was at that game. 2019 AFC Championship, Dee Ford. I'll still never forget it.
You got to be good, but you also got to be lucky too. And the Chiefs have a little bit of luck. They've got the mojo going. Who knows how long it can go for? But again, if you just give them any sort of life, they're going to find a way to pull that victory from. You know what?
And listen, I told you, Jake, I think last week I said that game actually sort of made me nervous. Like Denver, despite the fact that they'd gotten killed by Baltimore, they have actually been playing really well. I think that their defense matches up well with Kansas City, and we saw their defense kind of give the Chiefs some headaches throughout the day. They got to Mahomes a number of times. I mean, their pass rush is legit. And I kind of looked at this game similar to the last time that this team lost, and that was Christmas last year, a home game against one of the divisional rivals that they've been wiping the floor with for the last 6 or 7 years, that sooner or later are gonna land a shot. And I thought that they did. I thought that they did. And this came down to on that final drive when the Chiefs ended up having to getting to the red zone again, having to kick a field goal. Mahomes uncharacteristically missed Kelsey at the back of the end zone, just kind of aired it above his head and made it, and it was uncatchable. That normally doesn't happen. That was the difference between 7 and 3. If it's 7, all of a sudden the team is, sitting back and, you got to have a touchdown to beat you or even potentially tie you. It was quite different, and Denver got that run all the way. But, I mean, the sign of a great team is when one aspect of the team isn't going well, they get picked up on the other side. And it was the special teams unit. And Chanel has made some huge plays, made a huge one in the Super Bowl last year. But that one was he won it, and it's on to one of the games of the year. I'm so disappointed, and whatever. It's a good problem to have that this game happened to be Grey Cup Sunday, starting off. And they're going to get together with Morency, who's a big member of the Bills Mafia, and watch at least the first half with Gabe, and then get in for the big game. As far as the picks went for the weekend, I mean, to me, I'm just sort of stuck in this 2-2 zone every week. But the funny thing was, the two games that I think we all felt the best about were victories, but not covers. The 49ers. Listen, I cannot say enough about Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers. And listen, this team has lost 2 absolute heartbreakers these last 2 weeks. The overtime game against the Chiefs, and then in a short week coming back and going right to the wire with the San Francisco 49ers. And Baker made a play. Tom Brady, who was calling the game, I think said that it was the best play that he's ever seen. I'm sure you guys saw that, where his arm was being held. He kept dragging the guy on a.
I've never seen anything like it. It was Nick Bosa. It wasn't just like it was carrying Nick Bosa.
Oh yeah, guy that's up for DPOY. So listen, full credit to Tampa Bay. Unfortunately, I mean, listen, if we were going to lose the bet anyways, they deserve to win that game. They didn't. So San Francisco gets the win, but not the cover. And then the other game that was absolutely bizarre was the Sunday nighter. And listen, I'll give the Detroit Lions credit, much to like kind of the way I was dapping up the Chiefs, and we've seen this before. When one side of your football team isn't playing well, great teams have other guys that step up and get it done. And 23, his name escapes me, the DB, getting the pick on the first play of the second half after Jared Goff throws 5 picks in the game. And then they put up 20 in the second half and win. And you know what was amazing about that? I mean, obviously we didn't get, I'm still like, okay, if this goes to overtime, a touchdown will cover. That would be perfect. I actually bet an alternate line too. Like, I really thought that Detroit was going to continue to steamroll. So like, good on Houston for doing what they did. Big loss on CJ Stroud though. I mean, that didn't have to happen. A couple of those poor decisions he made in the second half allowed the path for Detroit to get back in the game. But the kicker, what was it? Baker? Is that his name? The Detroit Lions kicker?
Bates.
Excuse me, not Baker. Bates.
Great first name.
Dude, Jake Bates. The last 2 field goals that he kicked could not have been inside the post on either side by more than half a centimeter.
I think that first one nicked the post.
Collinsworth said if there's an extra coat of paint on those uprights, it's no good. But I'll tell you what, I mean, absolutely nails. There were some big kickers now from 55 plus are automatic in the NFL. That's another little bit of a development. But anyways, 2 losses with the Lions and the Niners, which I didn't expect. Wins on the Steelers and the Panthers, Jake. How about that? Not only did they cover, they actually won. They are getting a little bit of momentum going forward. Giants are terrible. And man, I said I was going to put together that money line parlay with Arizona, with Pittsburgh, who I took in the best bets on the spread. I added in Atlanta.
Oh,
and they lost to the Saints.
You know what, Huss?
I took the Saints.
Totally missed the boat on the Saints. I don't know what we were thinking. The interim coach bump, like Rizzy had those boys playing football.
The Rizzler.
Like, when I was sitting there watching the game, I didn't have any skin in the game, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, why weren't we all over the Saints this week with the interim coach? Like, it was foolish because I think there was some good money line, a good money line like underdog parlay with like you said, the Cardinals, the Steelers, the Saints were a nice one. Like there was a few in there that if you pick the right ones, you could have a really nice ticket. But yeah, it was one of those games where I was just like, how do we not have the Saints right now? They were playing just determined football. And the Rizzler had them going. It was pretty fun to watch. They looked
what
inspired.
was the spread in that game?
3.5, I believe.
It was 3.5. Like I momentarily considered, I guess, the spread, but I mean, this team has lost 7 in a row. They looked so done. They traded a couple guys last week. I mean, listen, credit to them for getting it done. Tough loss for Atlanta. Very interesting game. Rematch of the 99 Super Bowl coming up this week with the Atlanta Falcons and the Denver Broncos. Quickly, I did take Pittsburgh, and that was a hell of a game, 28-27. And how funny is it, guys? Mike Williams cast off from the Jets of all teams. We'll get to them in a minute. He's the guy that catches the winning touchdown. Russell Wilson throws 3. Listen, Commanders still in a great spot, but a tough loss for them heading into a massive Thursday nighter in the division against the Philadelphia Eagles. Patty, you buying or selling the Steelers now at 7-2?
I am not buying them at that record. I am buying them though as I don't think they are a 7-2 team, but they are a Mike Tomlin led group that plays very good defensively. And as long as their quarterback doesn't turn over the ball, they're going to be in fine shape. They're built for the playoffs. Can they knock off a Chiefs, a Bills, a Ravens? Probably not, but they got to be up there next. And they're I thought for sure at this point, Huss, that we'd be talking, okay, the Ravens are back in the driver's seat. They've got that division. No, they're in tough here. This Steelers team, again, I really don't see them as contenders, but I think they are a team that you probably don't want to match up with at the end of the year with the way that they're playing. And again, I think it just comes down to Russell Wilson. He's not turning the world on fire, but you add a couple of different targets to him now. They're able to run the ball. This is more than just a one-dimensional team. This is a team that I definitely would be scared to go up against. And as a Bills fan, I want them to continue to keep winning and win that division. And possibly if you got to go up against the Ravens, you have home field advantage rather than having to go to Baltimore. I'm in all favor for this. And as we said it, you and I were on them to win or to make the playoffs. I wish I took them to win the division. God, the odds would have been nice on that one if they do hold up here. But we both said they were going to make the playoffs because look at their coach, Mike Tomlin, and this team is a carbon. Yeah, but that's a Mike Tomlin team, right? They are just your prototypical Steelers team, and they just find ways to win and play good defense.
Jake, all the games that we've talked about, we're in the early slate, and we talked about the Sunday nighter, but they got to figure out something with this schedule because I have to say the late window was 3 games that were borderline unwatchable. The Titans-Chargers wasn't on regular TV, and that's fine, although Justin Herbert he's playing really, really well. Workman-like win for the Chargers. They get to 6-3. They're looking really good, and that's why that loss for the Broncos was so devastating. Knowing that they had it, a win in Arrowhead would have been such an advantage over the Chargers. But those other 2 games, the Eagles humiliating the Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb getting the sun in his eyes from the window in their own stadium. But, I mean, is there a bigger train wreck than the Jets? That business a couple Thursdays ago was a mirage. It was Garrett Wilson essentially making 2 unbelievable circus catches to turn a loss into a victory. the rest of their teams, like, they cannot stop anyone. Aaron Rodgers is getting killed. I think we can safely say that the Rodgers experiment is an abject failure, and they're back to square one. But I'll tell you what, Jake, Cardinals continue to play well. They've now won 4 in a row and are up to 6-4.
Yeah, I don't know if Kyler's given up on the old Call of Duty, but he's found something here. Like they're playing, really good football.
He's playing more Madden.
Yeah. They won a few in a row here, and the one thing I want to bring up, we talked about it early in the season. Is the NFC North the best division in football? I know the Rams lost last night in a game where they gave up so many good opportunities on drives that just wasted away with bad penalties or a sack or whatever it was. But, I was going to argue that, that division might be the best in football. We see Christian McCaffrey come back for the Niners. I expect them to go on a bit of a run, although they do have to play the Bills here in a couple of weeks. We see the Cardinals. They've won a few in a row. I think the Rams will still be in it. I'm not sold on the Seahawks, but I'd make an argument they're better than the North. Maybe it's the NFC East. Like, do you guys have any feel on what the best division in football? Huss, you might be a little biased with the old AFC West.
I still think it's the NFC North, to be honest. I mean, as long as the Lions are the number one team in the NFC, and I'm still very high on the Packers, and the Vikings continue to show that they are who they are, I'll give them that. I mean, the AFC West, you could give a little bit. I mean, tell you what, if Denver had won that game, I think you probably have. I mean, listen, they missed on a blocked field goal. We probably should be giving them a little more credit, but it's a wins and losses. It's a wins and losses matchup, and they didn't get it. And the AFC North, I've got time for with what Pittsburgh has done, Baltimore, and I still think Cincinnati. Kind of like last week, we went through their schedule. I think Cincinnati's going to be there at the end. But I'm still voting for NFC North. I don't know. How about you guys?
I think Jake brings up a really good argument for that division, the NFC West, when the Cardinals are great. 49ers, it's just a matter of time until they turn it on. Obviously, I really liked the Rams last night. Was a really disappointing, ugly loss. Like, I felt like the Rams were back. Maybe not the case now. And then, the Seahawks have kind of been a team that's beaten bad teams and then lost pretty handily to good teams. I do kind of like your answer with AFC North, but that's kind of just the AFC North. There's outside of the Browns, no one's ever really, really that bad. And then you have one or two teams that are like, pseudo Super Bowl contenders. So I think that's pretty fair, but I want to go back to the Cardinals for a second. They're 6-4, and I don't want to say they have an easy schedule, guys, but it's definitely destiny is in their hands here. I do truly believe so. They've got the Seahawks next week, at Seattle. That's a tough game, but definitely winnable. Then you go to Minnesota, and I know Minnesota's got a great record, but they are trending in the wrong direction, to say the least, at least offensively. Sam Darnold has not looked like Sammy Darts at all.
No.
Then they host the Seahawks the following week. Then they get the Patriots. Sorry, Jake, but it is the Patriots.
Yep.
Then the Panthers, who also maybe they're the hottest team in the league right now. And then the Rams, and then they host the 49ers. I'm not saying they're going to run the gambit here. I'm not even going to say that they're going to drop maybe one or two games, but these are all very, very winnable games, with maybe the exception of the 49ers if they can get back to full health. Like, this division, the destiny is in their hands, and I truly do believe it. And I think they're just not getting enough credit. And I feel like the writing was on the wall earlier on this year. The opener, they had the Bills on the ropes. They end up losing in a close one. Who else? They destroy the Rams. They beat the Chargers. They kill the Bears. They beat the Dolphins. Like, they've taken care of business. They beat the 49ers, a banged up 49ers team. But, outside of getting smoked by the Commanders, they've held in pretty tight here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they've lost. They played 4 good teams, and they've lost to them: Bills, Lions, Commanders, Packers. And listen, they've taken care of business. The win in Miami was a one of those Kyler Houdini jobs. That Monday nighter against the Chargers was a little dull, but hey, they got it done, and they got a huge win on the road against the Niners, and that's why they are where they are. But you're right, their schedule is pretty light. Like, I think we can safely say that unless they get swept by the Seahawks, they're probably a playoff team. I don't know. To me, that's a pretty mid-division overall. Like, I mean, I think the Niners have been mediocre so far this year. They've been dealing with tons of injuries. I think we saw last night there's like a lot of up and downs for all those teams. Just check this stat from last night. The Rams are the only NFL team in the Super Bowl era to attempt a field goal on each of their last 6 drives in a game, despite being down by more than 3 points entering each one. It was sort of a bizarre combination of circumstances with the 8 points and then the 11 and needing a touchdown and a 2-pointer and just getting stuck. But they did kill themselves last night, guys. Like, I mean, Jake, the amount of times that they got sacked. And listen, I'm thinking, we'll talk about how amazing Verse is. I'm like, that line of the Rams is legit, but it was the Dolphins that went in. And, just coming out of last night's game, we should quickly mention, like, Miami gets to 3-6. Listen to what they have coming up. Home to the Raiders, home to the Pats, at the Packers. That's a tough game. Home to the Jets, at the Texans, home to the Niners, at the Browns, at the Jets. I mean, I know it's somewhat of a long shot, but I think there's a good chance there's a 9-8 team that makes the playoffs in the AFC. And I mean, listen, there'll be an underdog against the Packers. There'll probably be a slight dog against the Texans. And there'll probably be a dog at home against the 49ers. But I mean, if they can beat the Raiders, Patriots, Jets, Browns, and Jets and win one of those 2 games or one of those 3 games that they'll be an underdog in, they'll be 9-8. Like, I think the Dolphins are going to be playing significant and important games still coming down the stretch. And last night, if they lost that game, it was over.
Listen, if we're schedule watching, this is the schedule you need to go look at right now. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 4-6. They're coming off 3 one-score losses. San Fran, Kansas City, Atlanta. They also lost to Baltimore. They've lost 4 in a row. The rest of their season is pretty much right there in front of them. They go to the Giants, to the Panthers, home to the Raiders. They got to go to the Chargers, which, Chargers don't get a great home field advantage. They are a good football team. To Dallas, Dak's out for the season. Then they get Carolina at home, Saints at home. They could go 6-1 to finish the season and finish at 10-7 and get in.
They could go 7-0. And let's think about these games that they've lost. Ravens, Falcons, Chiefs, Niners.
Pat wants them to win the division. That's what he's about to
I need them. I've got them to win the division. I've also got them to make the playoffs. Like, I need them. The division's tough. But, man, like, Huss, you said it, like.
They lost both those games to the Falcons. They need some help.
I know they need help. But, like, right now. But, man, like, Baker, like, it's just every time you think they're dead, he just pulls them out. And, like, that guy is just not going to go down without a fight. The only thing that scares me, Jake, is it seems like when you think they're going to win it and that's when
Atlanta
they lose.
Have the rest of the way. Okay, here's Atlanta at the Broncos, home to the Chargers, at the Vikings, at the Raiders, and then they finish home to the Giants, at the Commanders, home to the Panthers. So that's why they're minus 1,000 there. That's why they're minus 1,000.
There's definitely some football games in there.
There's some tough ones there. Come on, guys.
You know what? You know what we do. You know what would be great to get added, fellas, for the futures right now, because everything's up. Would just be to make the playoffs number.
Playoffs back,
for all of these teams, all these teams in the middle. Like, I'd love to know what the Miami number is at 3-6. Would love to know the Tampa number at 4-6. That would be really cool, and that'd be a fun thing to sort of get into for the next couple of weeks on Tuesday, Wednesday. For people that think that the teams might be making a bit of a run. Pretty fun NFL rundown. We got a great Thursday nighter coming up on Thursday. Commanders and Eagles. The Eagles 3.5-point favorites at home to Washington, and of course Washington coming off that tough loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Listen, we got 10 minutes. Let's dive into this hockey slate tonight. Before we finish, because all of our teams are playing. What about a Jets for the community? Have you already put that up? Jets, Oilers, Leafs?
I was just thinking I was gonna mention it to you before I did, because I know you guys got mad at me last time. I just sprinkled in the Leafs and it ended up being okay. I think 2 of them lost, so I didn't feel like we were the problem. But I mean, Jets, Leafs, Oilers right now, it's plus 445. I mean, we could get that up in the combos probably close to 5-1, not all the way up there, but probably pretty close.
Pretty darn close. I mean, the Jets, for the individual odds on the games, the Jets are plus 110. Hey, listen,
it's an auto bet.
They're playing pretty well right now.
I don't know how you don't bet them.
It's an auto bet. It's
kind of like the Chiefs at plus 2.5 next Sunday. Anyway, sorry,
guys.
Get back into football.
Guys, I get it. I get it. Like, both teams have some explosive offense, especially the Jets' power play. But you arguably have 2 of the best goalies, 2 of the hotter goalies in the National Hockey League going toe to toe. How do we not bet that under 6? We don't put it in a parlay, but I feel like this is a game where both these goalies stand on their head. The only thing that scares me is both teams have a lot of sharpshooters, and even with the 2 best tenders in the game, 6 is a low number for how good this offense is. I see Shesterkin, I see Hellebuck. I don't see how this is a high-scoring game.
The one thing that will be an issue is it all depends on what the story is with the how many penalties are called.
Yeah.
Because the Jets are still rolling at 42%.
Nuts.
And the Rangers are no joke either. They're 6th in the league at 26.3%. So it's funny. And look at that. The Leafs, after being 10% last week, have doubled it in a week. They're back to 20.8, 14th in the league, making a run. Listen, I do think people will probably be jumping on that under, knowing that it is such an incredible goaltending matchup. But I do like our 3-gamer with the. Listen, the Leafs have been playing really well. They're going to be ready to go. Ottawa always gets up for these games, but the fact that Toronto's only a minus 125 home favorite, I think we got a pretty nice number considering how public of a team that the Leafs are. And obviously the Oilers are the whale in this one at only minus 227. But for all of our Edmonton people, I think we got to make it a 3-gamer and throw the oil on as well, even if it is at a number we might not normally bet.
Yeah, listen, I think we're going to get it. I actually think it's going to end up being over 5-1. I just put it in the combos, so it should be up soon. We also do have an EST parlay from Matty Iwanek. He texted us earlier. This is what we're rolling with, a juicy one. Matty loves the juice. We got McDavid 2+ points, Draisaitl goal, Hyman 4+ shots, shots on goal, and the Oilers to win in reg, plus 950 in the exclusive. So if you're an Oilers fan, you want to get a little bit of a juicy parlay there. We have one set up right now for the EST crew in the exclusives.
2 quick notes about this Leafs game as well. Haas, you do bring up a good point about the Sens. Yes, they do always get up for these games. Normally, when it's the Maple Leafs taking on the Sens, it's an automatic auto bet for Matthews to score. He's still out of the lineup. Another thing to watch tonight, William Nylander is potentially not going to play. He didn't take part in practice yesterday. He was there today, though, so keep in mind there. But looking at that top line anyways, it's going to be Max Domi playing center between Nyes and Marner. And Domi's point prop right now, plus 106 at Coolbet. If Nylander plays, Bobby McMahon is expected to play with him and Tavares. Bobby McMahon to get a point, plus 215. So a couple of juicy numbers on a couple of players who are going to have a little more ice time than they're used to having if Austin Matthews, of course, is in that lineup.
Yeah, so he's game time decision?
I believe so. He did skate. I don't know, Jake, if you saw it, but I know he was skating. I don't think he was actually a full participant in practice, though.
Well, who's this, Willie? I think Matthews had confirmed is that Willie did skate this morning, a morning skate, but he was he was questionable. He was questionable at the time.
Well, that'll make sense why it's only minus 125. But you know what? I think we've seen this with Edmonton as well. I mean, like Edmonton was playing nowhere up to their standard, and then McDavid went out. And what happens? All of a sudden, Zach Hyman scores, and the Newt gets in there. So, Chiefs going to be leaning on the other guys to step up in the absence of their captain, and if it happens, William Nylander. So you know what? We'll just jump on that. It's a big for the lock shop community night tonight. Yeah, we can all come together and hopefully get this thing done. I will put together something for the Jets tonight. And I'm just looking at the goal scorers. Kyle Connor, plus 130. Gabe Vilardi, who's been hot, plus 210. Ehlers, plus 210 as well. And the point totals. We may have to put a few of these guys in together to make it happen. But I don't mind Gabriel Vilardi at minus 144. He's been really good lately. Morrissey's at minus 140. Do we have a Neil Pionk number? Oh, we don't have a Pionk number right now. We got Alex Iafallo, actually, at plus 240. He's been awesome. Adam Lowry as well. So I will dig in. We'll crank something out for the game tonight. But the Jets, plus 110 against the Rangers. Jake, before we go, you want to just quickly hit the other exclusives that you've got already? Or are they out yet?
We don't have them out just yet. We do have the For the Community online now, plus 510. Jets, Leafs, and Oilers all to win in the combo cards. So that'll be there. I'm sure the D-Gens, I believe, have already been chatting. They'll have a parlay probably. I never know with them. Sometimes it's same game. Sometimes we got to go exclusive. Sometimes we got to go combos. So keep your eye on both. But we'll have more rolling out here. It's been a little bit of a slower morning, but we'll get some combos out here during WST, and surely you'll probably be able to touch on those kind of when you get to the Coolbet area of the show.
I can confirm we will have our usual offering, like the apple picking season, points from the points. Those ones will be up there, ready to go, ready to be launched. So probably by the time we go off air, they're going to be up, ready to roll. I'm going to put a Patty Nose puck up there as well. I really like that total. I'm going to buy it up to 6.5 though, because it only goes down to minus 135. Probably put a Max Domi prop in there, and then maybe I'll listen to WST and see what you guys are feeling for maybe a Jets prop, or maybe I'll go Oilers prop as well. But nice night of puck tonight. Tuesdays are always a nice come off from the football weekend. But what a time to be alive with sports right now. You got the NFL, you got Grey Cup. It's the best.
Today is actually an interesting day. So, I mean, I don't know how much people follow NBA, but today's NBA Cup, you know, that in-season tournament they have. This is the first game of round robin.
Oh, yes, the big cup. Thanks for the banner.
4 from the East, 4 from the West. We also have Maction tonight if you're a college football fan. There's 3 Maction games. Western Michigan at Bowling Green, Ball State at Buffalo, Central Michigan at Toledo. And then in college basketball, which is also back, this is all for the true D-Gens. It's Champions Classic tonight. So you got Michigan State versus number 1 Kansas, and Duke versus Kentucky in the Champions Classic. So some fun stuff to bet on if you're not just betting hockey. You know, you can jump around. There's a ton of options. And then this weekend should be another big one. We got Paul versus Tyson, UFC 309, some more NFL, NHL, all that fun stuff.
Paul versus Tyson. Just quickly here, the Jake Paul minus 200, Mike Tyson plus 88, a draw 9-1. That draw at 9-1 is pretty interesting, because these sort of pseudo fights often, I don't know, the fishy line meter has popped up already for this. And hey, just quickly on the Grey Cup, Mark, shout out to Mark, who was basically waiting for this line to come out. He, like many people, saw it come out at 7.5, and within about 8 hours, up to 10.5 now. Obviously, this has everything to do with Chad Kelly being out for the Argos and Nick Arbuckle having to take over the starting job. Kind of very similar to, well, was it 2007, I guess, when the Bombers beat the Argos in the East final when they were back in the East. And in the fourth quarter, Kevin Glenn broke his arm, was out for the game. And how about this for a weird little full circle? The starting quarterback for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in that Grey Cup against Saskatchewan, making his first ever CFL start, Argos coach Ryan Dinwiddie.
Yes,
so
I saw that.
He'll know how to coach up Arbuckle, but Arbuckle's, he's played quite a bit. He's played some big games before, but that's up. So listen, because we are leaving tomorrow afternoon, we've had to move up Winnipeg Sports Talk tomorrow. So unfortunately, I'll be doing that at the same time. So Maddie's going to come in with the fellas tomorrow for the Wednesday program. I will be back on Thursday from Vancouver at Grey Cup Radio Row. So we'll have lots on the Grey Cup. Obviously, we'll start getting into a big Thursday nighter. We'll still have the NFL best bets and maybe some Grey Cup props. And depending on the status of our guy Dusty, there is a chance if he's feeling better and able to make it to Vancouver, he'll come by and hang out a little bit. But we'll just sort of play it by ear. But like we've done for the last few weeks, we've got it on the lockdown. Check it out. We've got the for the community parlay. I'm already on it. Get it before the line changes. Plus 510, Jets, Leafs, Oilers. May we all wake up tomorrow very happy, kind of like Winnipeggers did on Sunday after that epic Saturday here. Fellas, good stuff as always, gang. Get over to Coolbet. If you haven't played before there, what are you waiting for? Use the promo code LOCKSHOP for a 100% bonus up to $200. And hey, don't forget, for all of you that are betting hockey right now, promotions, make sure you've opted in for the Four Nations contest, and you may be able to be live in person in Boston for the championship game on February 20th. For Pat Gregoire, Jake Boland-Moss, I'm Andrew Paterson. WST is coming up next on the WST channel. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll send it back to the Edmonton Sports Talk fellas for continued programming. And, I guess I'm jumping on with the glue guy this afternoon.
Nice.
On afternoons at 5:20 my time, 4:20 Edmonton time. So stick around for that. I'll make another appearance later on after WST. Guys, have a great one. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, us.
See you, boys.
Thanks, everyone.